So today was another day of approaching accessory work on the biceps and triceps, and it went fairly well, I would say. Things were a lot easier than they were last week, and I didn't feel as sore when I was done as I did the week before. I can actually bend or straighten my arms all the way compared to last time where my biceps were so pumped and so full of blood from not having done any work forever, basically, that I couldn't straighten my arms. But yeah, this was not that bad at all. I did 45 pounds to start out on the skull crushers and tricep presses, and it felt light enough. So I figured keep it up for a few sets, see how I feel. 2 or 3 sets in, and if I want to bump the weight up, kind of how I normally approach exercises like this. Where you're doing a specific muscle group. Not anything that's for like a compound movement. And around after this set, I figured, hey, I hadn't really kind of done a full 3 sets at 45 like I normally would do. I did 2 last week, so I figured I'd do 3 this week and try a set at 50 at the end. And that was probably a pretty good call. About halfway through the 3rd set, I was feeling a little tired and figured, hey, if I would have done 50 on both of these, I probably would have been a little tough. And it's kind of sucks because the presses are such an easy portion for me. If I had a second curl bar that I could preload with another weight, that'd be really, really helpful. Back when I was doing these at the gym with my buddy Ryan, we would have 2 separate barbells, one for doing the skull crushers with, and then we would hand that one off and get another one to do the tricep press with. And I would do like 45, 50 pounds on the skull crushers, and then do like 70, 80 pounds on the tricep presses. So it's going to be mostly just for an exhaustion type exercise to really get things warmed up in my arms more than anything that's an actual exercise at the moment. I may buy a second curl bar or an easy curl bar at some point just to be able to do the separate sets like I had talked about, but I would probably need either someone else with me to kind of do the handoff, or I would just have to kind of take a little bit of time between those sets to kind of do that change. But I don't know, just kind of food for thought as I'm thinking over it. This is the set where I switched over to doing 50 pounds, and it's just not that bad at all. One thing that was kind of amusing me is just how light these weights are compared to my normal like deadlifts or squat weights, where I'm just like ripping them up real quick with one hand. And kind of thinking back to when I was first starting to work out, it took a bit of effort for me to pick these up and like move them around, and now I'm just like throwing them around like they're nothing. And it's a pretty welcome change. So just kind of one of those things that you don't notice as you are working out and getting stronger until you take a break from some things and go back and move these weights, and it's just like, oh, this is extremely easy now. So it's fun. The tricep, these were really good. I did feel a pretty good pump in my triceps when I was done. I moved on to the next one, doing barbell curls at 55 pounds. These were still rough. They weren't as bad as last week, but they did take quite a bit of effort to go through. I'm trying to figure out exactly how I want to handle the transitions between the different grip styles. In the past, I would do them just like I did there, where I would just change it at the top and then do my reps going down. I know there's technically a negative with the curl, which I considered after I did this set and looked or tried how it felt to change after I'd finished the negative of the curl. I did think, at least this week, going through and feeling it, that my body English was a bit better. You can see me kind of noticing at the end of that set to where I'd stabilize myself a bit more to be able to kind of hold in place. The second set, so this is one where I tried doing the transition during the negative portion of it. And to be honest, these aren't that bad in terms of like body English. There's just a little bit of rocking back and forth when I'm doing them. And there's the change there. And, whether it's at the top or at the bottom, I'd always kind of do it with a little bit of like, just toss the weight up, grab it, and move on into the next one. Starting at the bottom, I feel is a little bit harder because you're in negative with the weight now and you have to change your grips. Whereas when you're at the top of the rep, you can afford to, there's a little bit of, it's a lot of bit of body English. I felt that was a bit of rest in. We changed at the top, you're able to kind of take out part of the movement to where you're now going to start the rep at the top and be able to keep going, versus having trying to start it from the bottom. From a fatigue standpoint, I decided to just keep with starting or doing the transition at the top. But that's something I might play with. During the concentration girls at the end, I used my squat racks to kind of hold the weight as I was going through and doing those. And it may be worth kind of setting it on there and changing grips. I don't know. I think during this set, I did a mix between at the top and at the bottom, or it might have been all at the bottom. Nope, I set it down. And I set it down wrong, or picked it up wrong after that, just because I felt a miserable pump in these. I was doing a minute and a half between sets in the first two, and after the second set, I did about a 2-minute rest, but I took 3 minutes between this set and the fourth, just because of how absolutely pumped my biceps were. I mean, you can see the amount of body English I'm putting into this to get these done. And I'm trying to do as minimal as I can so I can really kind of keep the majority of the motion in my biceps to get that full benefit of them. After I took that longer break between the third set and the fourth set, I did feel a lot better than I did, between the second and third. It just gave me a little extra minute to recover more ATP. I think, I mentioned it in the past, but if I remember right, the return rate of ATP is like 75% after 2 minutes, and then like 80 to 90% after 3 minutes, and you get 100% back after about 5. So just getting that extra bit of energy was what I needed to really kind of push through those sets. It was still more difficult than the first and second sets, but I was able to do it more easily than the third set, and that was fun. This still took some work. The mix of the extensions with the supinated and pronated tricep extensions, the rope extensions at the end. It was a lot easier than last week, I will say that. I did end up bumping the weight on the fourth set, but it still took some work, and it's going to take just repeated work with this to kind of get good at these. This was always the hardest exercise out of any day, out of any week in the entire bodybuilder program I did, that I just struggled with every single time. And it's such a difficult exercise because you're supersetting 3 highly specific tricep exercises and really just kind of focusing on the muscles and just really hitting them. And in the past, this was just been on a cable machine, and so I could set the height exactly where I needed it. I didn't have to worry about the weight flying around like this with the pen. Let's keep an eye on it to make sure it wasn't going too crazy, because that does change the feeling of the weight. Makes it a little bit lighter, a little bit easier. And when you get good control with this setup, you can get it going up and down pretty well, but it takes getting in a rhythm with it and getting it in the right position from the start. Going forward and doing these, it does take a lot of energy and focus to do it. And I was able to do the first 2 sets without having to do the alternating reps that I had to do last week. And the it just kind of it is what it is. I'm still getting the reps out. There's a little bit more time under tension doing the alternating reps as opposed to kind of doing them together, bilateral reps. It's hard. So this is a really good exercise for the triceps, and this is one that I really want to see myself improve on, just to be able to gain more strength in them. And I think it'll take some time, but I think soon I will get a point, probably after 2 or 3 weeks of doing this, to where my body will start adapting to it, and my triceps will really start seeing some good benefit from this. And I'm doing pretty good at maintaining predominantly a tricep activation on those rope extensions. You want to avoid kind of getting your chest involved or using your shoulders, because that can take away a lot of the work and strength development that you can get from this out of the triceps, because you're using other muscle groups to do the movement. Kind of in a similar way that you want to avoid transitioning to your back with your squats, or transitioning to your back on a deadlift. Avoid using a compensatory movement, which would limit the amount of work and exercise that primary muscle group would get. But, I think doing this whole day of triceps and biceps is definitely going to have some benefit. While I was out and about today, looking at homes, I just stopped by a sports store. So this is where I start doing the alternating reps. I stopped by a sports store and grabbed some fat grips as a way to kind of help with form development and grip development. But doing all the deadlifts, with hook grip and, doing them raw does a lot of form development. And I might just throw them in some days doing like hammer curls just to add a little bit of a grip element to it, because doing 25, 22 and a half, 25 pounds on hammer curls isn't anything that's too taxing on grip. But adding that fat grip to it would definitely add in that extra little bit of work I could get, and it at least still gives me 2 days rest between this day and my I have my hands going the wrong way there. 2 days rest between this exercise and my next deadlift session, so my grip wouldn't be too shot, and it's only 4 sets of periodically doing that to kind of help build up some extra grip strength. So that's something I kind of considered doing today, but I decided against it just so I could continue getting back into the swing of doing this. Bumped these up to 17 and a half using the change plates that I have, and this started getting difficult. You can see my arm starting to swing out and compensating on the shoulders and the chest, so I decided to start doing alternating movements so I could focus more and get good placement of the arms to finish these reps. And man, this was exhausting. I think I only made it 5 reps in before I had to switch over to alternating, and actually maybe even less than that. But it was that was rough. And then I bumped my rope extensions up to 45 pounds. This is something I was debating doing for the last set, but I figured I'd save it on the third set. But I figured I'd save it for the last, since I was going to be upping the weight on the tricep extensions anyway with the pronated and supinated extensions. There is a motion where I'm getting the chest involved, but really trying to focus on keeping it primarily on triceps. I'll probably do this exact set construction next week, so 15 pounds for the first 3 sets, and then 17 and a half and 45 pounds for the second 2 sets. I'll probably do 45 on the second and third sets, or the third and fourth sets of the rope extensions, as opposed to just the 4th set, because I can handle that weight well enough. It's just kind of managing overall fatigue. Hammer curls starting out at 22 and a half pounds for the first 3 sets and go to 25 on the 4th set. Continuing doing the same motion I talked about last week, where I'm doing alternating one for the first rep and then bilateral for the second rep, all the way through 10 reps. And it's just an easy way for me to keep track of the ways I'm going through. The exercise really not that bad. These hammer curls are still fairly light. When I was doing them more regularly at the gym, I think I was doing like 35-pound hammer curls. So considerable difference over this, an extra like 50% of weight added to it, but it would just take some time to get back to it and see some benefit from that. I had noticed over the past few days just kind of doing extra tricep work and a little bit of the bicep work kind of periodically. I did have to do extra work last week to get the pump on my arms and the DOMs to kind of abate, but my arms are staying a bit more pumped now instead of not really kind of having that muscle display. So getting that extra work has really kind of helped that muscle be more prominent more often. And really doing this, looking at myself in the mirror at the end, now my delts are looking like they're lagging behind. And that is something that is important for doing pressing, because you generate a lot of power in your shoulders. It's just the primary movers of doing like a bench press is in your triceps and your chest. So I may add in some delt work alongside the chest work on Tuesdays and Saturdays. That kind of remains to be seen, but I don't know, just something to kind of think about. Adding more muscles to the arms, and not as much like a well, it is partly a visual thing for adding the delts and everything, but there is functionality to this. I really don't like doing exercise, gaining muscle for like aesthetic reasons. I'm more for kind of the purpose of the exercise that I'm wanting to perform. This last set of 25 ended up alternating the last few reps just because I was I was too tired to really do the bilateral. I felt I was going to swing it if I did more like that. I decided not to use the concentration curl attachment on my my bench this week, and wow, it was the balance aspect. I think I mentioned it last time. Having to balance the bar and control all the way down is a lot different because you don't have a point to where you lose tension of the weight when the bar comes back into contact with, or the attachment comes back into contact with the bench. So it's all you the whole time, and I ended up cheating, kind of doing some half reps. So I'm probably going to keep it at 55 for a little bit until I can build back up. Whenever I was doing these regularly back in the day, I was able to do concentration curls at like 80 pounds. So this is quite a step back, and it shows kind of the neglect of my biceps face, really focusing just on the compound lifts of bench, squat, deadlift, overhead press. Things were neglected, and I lost a lot of strength. And I was only able to get 11 reps out of this first set, and I was kind of stuck with the bar. I didn't want to drop it, so I just kind of whipped it up a little bit and had to roll it back into my lap because, man, I was tired. I sat here debating. I got 11. I can take a few seconds and try to do 12. And I decided, no, I'm decided against it. I'll just rack the weight for now, and then come back and do my next set of 12 and see how I feel in the last set. Maybe try to crank out a 13th rep. But at this point, my arms were feeling pretty pumped, pretty tired. One thing that also threw me off is that my arms were sliding on the pad. So I threw my towel on there just to kind of give myself a little extra grip. Also chalked my hands up just because my hands were under tension for quite some time, and I just have naturally extremely sweaty palms. And here I'm getting a lot of half reps. I'm really trying to focus on getting that full rep, but it's going to take some time to get used to it again. Just kind of with this movement, it's probably going to take me a couple more weeks to really kind of feel solid in it again, which is fine. This is, again, anything that I'm like doing to really kind of grow my biceps, so to speak, but just more of get some strength back in it and kind of get some opposing development for the triceps. That way it's not all dominant on one side of the arm. But man, these sets were rough. And preacher curls were always one that I had like a love-hate relationship whenever I first started doing bodybuilding, 3 years ago. And it's just a difficult exercise. I've never had overly strong arms. And once I got good at it, it was a lot better. But I think for the first like 4 or 5 months, man, these were something that I hated doing. But they've always kind of been in the mix. And it is something that is kind of nice to do because you get actually to sit down and relax a little bit and then not relax once you actually start repping the weight. I did end up doing 13 reps on this set. I gave myself a couple more minutes of rest. I did 3 minutes rest between the second and the third set, just to kind of give myself time to recover and get some more energy ready to do the last set and try to go for 13 reps. And I know that some of them are half reps. I wasn't super thrilled about it, but I figured, hey, half's better than nothing, and I might as well get something out of it. If I had somebody there with me, I'd probably be able to do like assisted reps to where they're, holding the bar a little bit and kind of pushing me until I have total failure, as you kind of see with a lot of bodybuilding stuff. But I'm not overly focused on that aspect of it again. So here's that was that 13th rep and getting that weight down. Again, it's just kind of a fun side thing for me to build up a little bit of additional strength in the triceps to kind of help with pressing. So it's fun, it's a good change of pace from doing compound lifts. Just kind of focus on one muscle group for a little bit. But another week down, probably a few more weeks of this to kind of really get back into the hang of it, and then it'll probably become a pretty casual day for me every Sunday.